If there was one area of the golf swing that I think gets misunderstood more than any other, it's the concept of creating and retaining lag into the downswing. This is under the guise that you're going to be able to hit the ball much further if you can put more lag into your golf swing. But the irony of this is that the more you try to add lag to your swing, the shorter your shots become. Today I'm going to share with you the reason you've been getting lag wrong your entire life and how to fix it with a very simple understanding of how the wrists should really move throughout the golf swing. And to help you see where you get this wrong, I'm going to be using the HackMotion wrist sensor in today's video, which is going to help you to see the movement of the wrist, which is ultimately where you get this entire concept of lag incorrect. Before we get too far into this, we should really define what lag is. The fact that it's not particularly well defined in the first place makes it challenging to measure or understand fully, but I think most people's understanding of the concept of lag would be the angle created between the lead arm and the shaft. And people would generally say that the greater that angle here, the more the shaft is angled towards the body, the more lag somebody would have. And equally the opposite would be true as the shaft started to get wider, closer to the angle of the lead arm itself, that would be considered less lag. So we're really using the angle between the lead arm and the shaft to determine how much or how little lag we have. If we use that premise to begin with, then we've got somewhere to start. And yet if I was to stand facing the camera here and come down into my downswing, I could create a picture here where there's around 90-degree angle between my lead arm and the shaft. And I could do that in a way where I know is particularly efficient and powerful. And I could also create that exact same picture. You probably didn't even notice I did anything differently there. I could create that exact same amount of lag with very different wrist conditions. Let me show you exactly what I mean. So people get the idea of lag wrong all of the time because they don't understand how the movement of the wrists influences the club face and how that club face angle influences the entire swing. If I was to put a little stick here, magnetic rod, onto the club face, I'm going to do this to be able to help you see where this club face points throughout the swing. And then what I'm going to do using the HackMotion sensor is I'm going to show you what would happen if I tried to create the maximum amount of lag. So from this front view, you'll see that the angle here between the lead arm and the shaft is about as much as I could manage with my wrists. And in order for me to do that, I have to make two motions. One is I have to hinge the wrists in an upward fashion. That's called radial deviation. And you'll see there on the HackMotion app that I've got around 40 degrees of radial deviation. That's hinging upwards. But as I get to a certain point of radial and I go as far as I can, at the same time, I extend this lead wrist. Extension is the motion here of cupping the wrist like so. And as I cup the wrist or I extend it, you'll see what happens to the club face. I open it. So as I search for more lag and I try to add more hinge throughout my swing, as I do that, I'm having the negative effect of opening this club face, which will result in weaker shots with less distance and less ball speed. They're likely to slice, very inefficient. So you're trying to add more and more lag and more hinge into your swing, but in doing so, your wrist movements are opening the club face, resulting in a very inefficient strike. As you come down, you have to stall and start flipping your wrists in order to square the club face. This is the bit you get wrong every single time, and you try for more power, you try to add more lag, and you end up increasing the problem. Club face is even more open, and round in circles you go. Let me show you how to move these wrists to show you exactly how to produce lag in the most efficient way, like the pros do, in order to maximize your ball speed and increase your distance. So this time as I swing back and I start my downswing, I'm still, from this front view, going to have a pretty decent amount of lag. The angle between my lead arm and the shaft is going to be reasonable. You're going to think that that looks okay. Yet I've created it in a very different way. If we look at the graph now and the motion of the wrist here using the HackMotion, rather than 40 degrees of radial deviation or hinging, I only have around 15 or 16. And yet what I've actually managed to do here is create more of the correct amount of lag by keeping my lead wrist much more flat. In other words, I've moved the right hand more into extension. I've turned the back of my right hand down to allow me to create the lag without compromising the club face. If you watch this stick as it comes down, you'll see how the stick points now somewhat down towards the golf ball, down towards the ground. That would be a much more efficient position from which to deliver the club with some shaft lean and much less dynamic loft, meaning that ball's going to come off the club face faster, more ball speed, more potential distance. So I've created more power with what looks like, from this front view, less lag. I could have more angle here. I could extend my wrist and radially deviate my wrist to the point where I could get this shaft to almost touch my shoulder. And some of you are really trying to do that, pulling down on the church bell, ring the church bell. That's one of the sayings that you get told to do. Pull down, pull this club down from the start. Look what this wrist position does to the shaft. Completely ineffective, steep shaft, open club face. If I took this exact same wrist condition, you'll see from the front view, this is about 90 degrees, and I just flattened my lead wrist. So I took it from having this curve in it, and I made it flat. Look what happened to the shaft as I did that. From the down the line view, it got much more shallow. We moved it back onto plane rather than it being too steep. We moved it back onto plane, and from the front view, I still have the lag. But this is lag I can use as opposed to lag that's costing me distance and costing me shots. From here, I can keep turning down towards the ball and create a very desirable impact position. So it's absolutely essential you learn the correct wrist movement to produce the correct lag in order to help you improve your golf. So how could you train this to ensure you have the correct wrist motion? Well, if you own a HackMotion wrist sensor, the tool is designed to be able to set parameters and benchmarks for you to move within. I can set biofeedback to make this sensor vibrate and also make an audio sound when I'm within a range that I want to be. That's where I would start if you own a HackMotion. I would tell you that as you swing back, you'd want to get the wrist into a position here, you'll see on the screen where I've got the green, where I have an amount of radial deviation, wrist cock up and down, that is within a particular range. You can see the green on the screen there. If I didn't have enough wrist hinge, I wouldn't get the feedback that I'd done enough. But for those of you overdoing this piece, which is the mistake I see all the time, the golfer who tries to add excessive lag, I go past that point of green, I go past that sweet spot, if you like, and I end up losing the benefit of the lag. I could get that feedback as I practice, and I could learn what that felt like, and then I could go ahead and hit balls. You have to train the mechanics of this to allow the feel to take over. Many of you will say that seems too mechanical, that's too technical. Well, you need to train the mechanics, the improvement in the mechanics of the swing, and then allow that feel that you've produced there to reproduce great shots. The mechanics produce, the feel reproduces. But I know not everybody has HackMotion, so there's another training aid that I find works beautifully for this as well. I'm going to show you how that one works now. And the device I have on my right arm is called the Lag Pro from Sure Golf. These are the same people that bring you the connector ball, the green ball with the rods through it. I've made videos on that training aid as well previously. This Lag Pro is a fantastic tool at creating the feel that you need to learn the correct wrist motion, particularly in this trail wrist. This is a tool that I think is going to provide exceptional feel and feedback for a position that is very difficult for a lot of you to find. I often say in my teaching, the position is very specific, but the feel is very subjective. I can't really tell you what you should be feeling because that feel is very individual to you. So what good training aids do is they move you into a position where we want you to be, and then you can learn that feel, you can verbalize that feel if you like, you can tell me what you're feeling once you're moving correctly. The elastic straps here that live down the back of this training device with the two hooks that go through the middle finger and the index finger allow for the stress to be placed on the back of the wrist there. You can feel or see there how I'm moving my wrist into that extension condition. And if I was to simply put my hands on the club, I'm already getting a sense of how this trail wrist would move as I start to make my backswing. And as I make my backswing, I get pulled immediately into that desirable lagged position. I've got a flat lead wrist. You can see that on the HackMotion there. The sensor's reading just 1 degree of flexion. That effectively means my lead wrist is flat. I like that. And my trail wrist is in that mid-teen amount of radial deviation. That's the wrist hinge. That's a wonderful position there that my arm and hand just went straight to, being pulled into that position. Again, I've created basically the same numbers just by letting the training device pull me back. And the second great thing about this is as you swing down, those of you who like to cast or flip, you're prevented from doing so by the sensation that exists in these straps, in these elastic straps, holding your right wrist back for longer, delaying that release, which is really helping you to keep the lag that we want all the way down into the ball. Good training aids help to provide those feels that I was talking about, and this is no different. I like the fact that you'll get a very strong sensation very quickly of what you're supposed to do. And the added benefit of this device is that you can also go ahead and hit balls with it, which makes it very practical to use as a training tool on the driving range or at your simulator at home. Nice sensation there of holding off the release. Tight little draw. What I would say to you there is that exploring training aids that help you to find the right position with your body can be extremely valuable. Everybody has a different way of feeling this or a different way of doing this, but ultimately the position that you're trying to find is very specific. So explore the concept of keeping the left wrist flat, having the trail wrist bent back more like this device is doing, and trying to maintain this angle as your lag. This is true lag in the golf swing that the best players are demonstrating. The angle between the lead arm and the shaft is correct, but I'm doing so in a way that's also keeping the shaft completely playable and shallow. It's on plane. I could also have plenty of lag, as I've already shown you, and yet the shaft can now, for this down the line view, become very steep. So it's a very important lesson that you learn here. Get this wrong and you'll continually be frustrated by your lack of distance, lack of consistency, and lack of any sort of shot directional control. But get it right and you'll unlock a completely new level of ball striking, distance, and accuracy that you never thought was possible. So there's no doubt that adding lag to your golf swing can be beneficial, but only if you do it in the correct way. And all too often, I see people getting this wrong and making themselves worse, not better. If you really want to understand how this works, then measuring what goes on at the wrist level can be very valuable. And the only training aid that really does that on the market is the HackMotion wrist sensor. If you'd like to learn more about this product, I'm going to put details down in the description, and there's also a discount code if you're interested in making a purchase. And if you'd like to learn more about the Lag Pro from Sure Golf that I also featured in today's video, then I'll put some details for that product down in the description as well. I used this product in my recent trip to the USA with students who needed more help with their impact alignments and their wrist positions to help them feel what they needed to achieve. We had some instant results using this product, and it's something I would highly recommend for those of you looking to improve your wrist conditions. As I say, there'll be more details down in the description, and there's also a discount code should you choose to make a purchase. If you enjoyed the video today, guys, I'd really appreciate you hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel if you're new. I would also encourage you to continue your education on how the wrists work by watching a video that I made on this subject, which really teaches you how to move the wrists in the transition. As you start the downswing, this is where so many people get the concept of lag incorrect. If you want to learn the way to do this, then the motorcycle drill is the best drill you can learn in order to improve your wrist conditions.